Good evening. The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades, and this country is not alone. All over the world, we're seeing the devastating impact of this invisible killer. And so tonight, I want to update you on the latest steps we're taking to fight the disease and what you can do to help. And I want to begin by reminding you why the UK has been taking the approach that we have.
Walking up to settling vein, lungs bursting, snatching at pure air blowing off Midlope Moor, we stop. Drinking in the view, aching legs ease, all tiredness disperses to the far horizon. Hear the curlews returning to nest. See the deer racing up steep fields through tumbling stone walls. At this very moment, I want to wrap the world in cotton wool, soft muslin sheets, anything to keep it safe. Bits of paper. I've got a big bag of paper scraps. It just keeps getting bigger and more scraps. Lately, only the small things. An admiration for the stitching of gowns. Check out Instagram @FionaSews, hashtag for the love of scrubs. Donations welcome no matter how small. Making dinner for the gentleman next door. Window for a mask. Lately I live in hawthorn, fattened with wood pigeon, a squabble of sparrows at my chest. In the driest April on record, I water the tulip pots, drift in the catch breath of broken nights, across a field of years, to golden saxifrage opposite leaved, and summer on a mossy heath, Sundays walking in Kentish apple orchards, island Greece, spitting stones from black Kalamata olives. Lately, only the small things. Breath, postcards, scraps of torn paper put back together, an attempt to retrieve. There are too many pictures of food to scroll through for my liking, too many briefings. The world is numberless in its grief. All our houses burning, one way or another. Hunger. Lately, only the small things. Next door's magnolia, opening like a wound, flesh falling on stone. I imagine eating only black currants. My grandmother's pastry, swollen fingers sifting flour to bowl, pale blossom in the wind, rising and falling like a lung.
Britain is silent sunshine today. The spring has sprung, but there's no one to see while the jackdaws take over the roads. No one sees the new twin lambs touch noses, or the wobbly calves lean on their mothers. The daffodils are blooming to themselves, and the waysides in the woods are rustling on their own.
My morning ritual remains unchanged, excepting that I now have nowhere to go and nothing to rise for. I now have day pyjamas and sleep pyjamas. I really would not bother, but the neighbours might see me whilst I'm pegging out washing and need some sign that I've not become a total slob. My toilette has always been of the wash and go school. No change there then. We take it in turns to push the Dyson around in a desultory fashion, one glaring at the other if they feel that they have sacrificed more Dyson time. Or moved an item of furniture. There are extra brownie points for this. I found a squeaky mouse under a sofa, and the cat has only been dead since February. Lunch has ceased to exist. In my world, it's become a part of breakfast, and him indoors needs feeding every couple of hours, no matter what. I have no one to bake for. I cannot give food away in case it has added COVID, and we are both trying to diet for our next jolly, which has been cancelled 3 times to date. I go hopefully around the world with Jane, Rick, and Bethany's cleavage. She really would make a magnificent figurehead, would Bethany. Not sure of her aerodynamics though. It would take the wind a while to negotiate her headland. Afternoons are spent watching our individual TV programmes. I refer to his programmes as rubbish. He calls mine shit. I started out lockdown with the intent to read a lot and to create wonderful written works that lasted around 2 days, or when I was notified that the first holiday had been cancelled. I've sulked ever since. Shopping is also a ritual. He drives to the shop. I go in, spray the trolley, purchase the food, pack it and pay. Shopping is much heavier since lockdown. I find that I'm purchasing a lot of bottled products at the present time. There has to be some way in that the contents can be considered part of our 5 a day. Well, in my world, anyway.
I've been saving my sanity, keeping safe by not looking deep, giving myself hard physical tasks to see me through from one day to the next, 1 week, 1 month, 2, 3, 4. The greenhouse decluttered, debugged, declared ready, seeded, potted on, growing. The shed unburied, tins emptied, sorted, refilled, labelled, returned to shelves, newly regimented. Father's armchair, stripped back to skeletal frame, rewebbed, restuffed, reupholstered, reborn. The 2020 garden, dug clay deep, a vision for the future. Ground elder, creeping honeysuckle, bramble, couch, a nettie's worth of bricks. Removed, replaced by salad greens, legumes, squash, and herbs. Kitchen cupboards built, doors painted, 50s revival. And still, I stay safe, shallow and safe. And deep in the night, my hip cries out, "What about me? Save me."
I do like writing letters and I do like receiving letters, so I still think I like the personal touch. A musty old folder, weathered with age, the long faded ink as I study the page, my mother's handwriting and beautiful script, the poems are falling, they drop from her lips. But she is long gone, and I couldn't have known that lockdown gave time and the freedom of home. I hurried and scurried in a pre-COVID life, but now I draw breath and I don't have the strife. So I read the old poems with dust on the page, the smell of the leather, so battered by age. Will I go back? It is quite hard to say. The frenetic, fast world seems so far away.
I am in the waiting room. I've been in waiting rooms before, with tatty magazines or soothing goldfish tank. This waiting room is virtual. I'm cocooned at home with my laptop, waiting to share coffee and discussion. We will wave at each other, note the decor of other people's rooms, hear the dog in the background. This is new normal. But it is not the same. No subtle body language, no frisson of underlying tensions, no gentle banter. Welcome to Zoom. One day, I will be back in a real waiting room, waiting for real people.
The English language has always had a penchant for pinching words from other languages, euphemistically known as loanwords, assigning new meaning to old words and not necessarily dropping the original meaning in the process, turning nouns into verbs, creating new conjuncts, and so on. English people joked that we did it to confuse the foreigners. Of course, this is accelerated during significant events, such as the 2 world wars, the space race, the internet, etc., etc. At the moment, the COVID pandemic is creating a field day for wordsmiths worldwide. Only 4 months ago, how many people would have known what an air bridge was, or what the R rate indicated, or what social distancing meant? To deep clean probably inferred that the carpet was very dirty. And bubbles came in little tubes for kids to blow. To take bubbles as an example, in Elizabeth von Arnhem's novel The Enchanted April, Mrs. Wilkins observes that people could only be really happy in pairs, any sorts of pairs. If she had lived 100 years later, she may very well have used the word bubbles. So there is now a whole new raft of changed words and phrases at our disposal. We have become so used to them that when they're used in their old sense, they can cause momentary confusion. We can spin entire paragraphs with them. For example, if one's bubble was unfortunate enough to jump on an air bridge to a country that suddenly goes into lockdown because its R rate spikes, possibly due to lack of enforcement of social distancing, then on return, one's bubble would have to self-isolate for 14 days because this is the new normal. And Mrs. Wilkins, sitting on her chair in San Salvatore 100 years ago, whilst understanding all the words and phrases, wouldn't have a clue what you were talking about.
Life changes, moment by moment, evolving, slow and inconspicuous, unnoticed. Then came pandemic, panic, pandemonium, fractured normality, humanity interrupted. Eyes darting, alert for danger, as if becoming deer. Scuttling sideways to avoid others, as if becoming crab. Going to ground, remaining indoors, as if becoming mole. Survival of the fittest, the youngest, as if becoming animal. Once again, under the sway of the old god, Pan.
Eli Rigby lives nearby, pale and insubstantial. Can't invite him over for a coffee and a cake. It's the lockdown. It's truly locked him down. He peers out, doors half open, well back from the grocery boy, shuts the door quickly. This time is too much for some people. All the unfortunate characteristics of old age are shining too bright. White hair thinning, curved back, gnarled fingers, low, weedy voice. He used to crack jokes with his neighbours, pub every night, swing his little granddaughter around. She loved it. Hadn't seen them in months. Maybe it's too painful to see him through a crack in the door. She wouldn't understand. Indoors, he's caught by ghosts in hidden corners, silent, persistent, unshakable. Too quiet is the tread of carpet slippers. Too much the constant turning in the creaking bed, the sadness in the night. Is it death at the door, coughing gently, smiling and cheerful, holding out a bag of oranges?
From Crawley Incline over Bashall Rig, the gamekeeper's track wanders up the moor. Today's escape from lockdown's iron grip and the dream world of these sleepwalking days. Up here, permitted daily exercise means freedom and a chance to breathe clean air. A cool breeze gently combs the heather and whispers through the walls of the old sheepfold. The moors create their own social distance. It is breeding season for upland birds. Curlews glide effortlessly across the moor, murmuring their soft and wistful love weep, while lapwings wheel and dive in mad display, bleeping like strange, demented aliens. We climb to the summit of Collier Law, where, drawing our breath, we stop to survey the broad sweep of the dale spread out below. The land dreams in sleep beneath the heat haze of a warm, dry spring no one expected. And untroubled by human contagion, the lowland trees are thrusting into leaf, eager to embrace an early summer. Leaving behind our silent reflections, we follow Blackburn to make a descent, where tetchy red grouse urges to go back, and small heath butterflies, basking in heat, scoot away to avoid our tramping feet. By the time we reach Shittlehope, we're thinking of home and what waits for us there. The daily briefing and the new death toll, the current R number, clap for carers, the liturgy of nightmares still to come that haunt our subconscious pandemic dreams. What sustains us through these darkest of days is our connection to the airy moors. That upper world of sunlight, wind and rain, where nature's cycle turns the wheel of life, regardless of our self-inflicted woes. We too are children of this world, although in our hubris we often do forget. These troubled times remind us of the need to slow down, slacken our pace, and stop. Hear once again that deeper, ancient pulse that drives a living world in harmony. In darkness, we can sow the seeds of hope, but all must strive to bring them to the light. Stay at home, but stay tuned. Work to restore the balance. Save lives.
Britain is silent in the sunshine today. The thrum of motorcycles has gone, replaced by bird song and the hum of lawnmowers, as people do as they are asked to stay at home. The occasional clink of glass as it hits the recycle bin, followed by the pop of its successor. 1 a.m, the new bedtime, delayed by another glass of wine.
A walk before lockdown was always for a purpose. Walking the dog, heading for a destination, i.e. the Grey Bull, and getting out of the house with grandchildren addicted to their phones and games. And then a walk became a walk, something to be enjoyed, a gentle stroll or amble watching the wildlife. In Ash's Quarry, there are 2 pairs of nesting moorhens, a colony of mallards, and 2 very large fish, usually visible early morning. Another favourite walk is along the Mine Road at Crawley Sign, known locally as the Rully Way. I have always enjoyed this walk, which I have been doing for over 40 years. This year we have taken more time to look at the flowers and plants and to learn their names. We could hear the birds more clearly without the background of traffic noise. Butterflies, dragonflies, grasshoppers and all insect life abounded. We saw deer, squirrels, rabbits and a slow worm which neither of us had seen before. We clambered into the quarry to see the frog pond and to monitor the frog spawn. Further along the road is another quarry with a frog pond at the base. It is hugely overgrown, and while we could hear the frogs, we couldn't see them. So I tried to find another access point. I walked through the trees and could see a path and a clearing ahead. As I walked forward, I could see the quarry face, and at the base there was a door with a slanting girder acting as a kind of lintel. The door is green and has what looks like windows cut into it. My husband was born in the village in an era when we all roamed more freely. The frog pond was a magnet for small boys, but even he had never seen the door before. The door fascinates me, and I would love to get closer, but the area above looks unstable. The place looks like it should belong to a hobbit or some subterranean creature who shies away from human contact. The truth is obviously more prosaic. It was the entrance to a mine shaft that had been deemed dangerous, and therefore the entry was blocked. Not roughly like a lot of the entrances along there, but with a custom-made door. I'm sure if I looked inside, I would see nothing but earth and stones. But I prefer to furnish it in my imagination.
Green light drips onto sooty bark. The white sun forges pathways onto petals of yellow aconite, spotlighting chunky bluebells awakened from their ancient bulbs. Raw branches push outwards and up, escaping the broad trunk, a descendant of the ancient woodland, rooted here, predating the existence of the main street, this whole town, its straight road echoing with the tramp, tramp of mercenary feet, pacing the land, holding it in thrall. For an emperor, lounging now in glimmering Mediterranean light. the child walks through the trees, trailing her hand on the roughened bark. She puts her face to the sky and savours the pearls of rain that drop onto her round brow, into her closed eye.
All over the world, we're seeing the devastating impact of this invisible killer. And so tonight, I want to update you on the latest steps we're taking to fight the disease and what you can do.
It won't come up the dale, said the woman outside the paper shop. She must have heard about the magic COVID-repelling barrier at Harpley Bank, I thought. It's just the media hyping it all up. She continued with a confidence that made me wonder for a moment if she had inside knowledge on the virus that was about to change the world. That morning, as I sat down with my coffee, I made a shopping list after turning down the volume on the telly. Piers Morgan's face was puce with rage. He's always upset about something. Graphics bounced around on the screen telling us the death toll in Italy before it cuts to the Prime Minister. Boris didn't seem too bothered. I was starting to worry. My husband's a nurse, so naturally I was concerned about him going to work. But this morning I was actually more anxious about not being able to buy enough corned beef. I don't even like the stuff. What would I want with 4 tins of corned beef? If this is the end of civilization as we know it, surely I can rustle up a meal without resorting to corned beef. There's talk of toilet roll shortages and rationing. Why is everyone queuing outside Morrison's at 6 in the morning for bloody bog roll? Work called. They're letting everyone go. There was talk of something called furlough, which I've never heard of. How do I tell Martin? He's got enough on his plate at the hospital.
To slow the spread.
I put on the news again.
Because
They're
that
going
is
to
the
build
way
a bloody great
you
big
reduce
hospital
the
in
number of
London.
people.
It's going to be so big, they're describing it in the size of the number of football pitches. I'm none the wiser. What do I know about football pitches? Well, back to the shopping. I wonder if the post office sells corned beef.
Are you awake yet? You should be. Along the lane, walking just past dawn. Nature's broadcasts are louder than TV's. So stop, listen. Can you hear them? The curlew's cry curves upwards, ponderously lifting us out of cold winds and dark skies. Then, a flitter and a flutter of twittering swoops over our heads as the swallows return, and somewhere, unseen and echoing, the cuckoo calls out its sparse notes. And then, be still, hush, so you may catch a rising spirit of summer on its way, promised to us in the music of a tiny skylark. Be still, listen. Sometimes it takes our silence for us to hear.
I went shopping for the first time in 4 months. I felt like a novice in a strange new world. Queuing? No, love, you can walk straight in at this hour. Do I look that old? Oh, vanity. Face masks. Some do, most don't. But they're so uncomfortable and not designed to fit with hearing aids, and a friend has already lost one of hers. New layout. Shelves and aisles changed and reordered. No, love, you'll find jams at the bottom of the next aisle. Checkout. Claustrophobic barriers to separate me from other people and the woman at the till. Contactless cards? No, love, you need to hold it just there. How many idiots like me has she had to initiate patiently into this new world of what used to be ordinary shopping?
March 2020. The kitchen calendar, a breathless tangle of engagements, reminders, commitments, things that needed to be done, penciled in weeks ahead.
And every one of us is now obliged to join together to halt the spread of this disease, to protect our NHS and to save many, many.
Week 3. Under siege. Empty shops. A diagonal stripe scrawled through every day. Cancelled, postponed, penciled out. Dates flying off the page like meteorites, crashing into the life you thought you could take for granted, leaving a scatter pattern of scars and desolate fires burning on the wall. In April, the death toll peaked and the days flattened. Laid out like a jigsaw. Patterned. Collect prescriptions, queue at the co-op. One bag for us, one for Trevor. That's the morning gone. Conversations are like gems, snatched out of the ground with people you barely know. Are you finding things to do? Aren't we lucky we live here? Have you tidied the cupboards? Stay safe. The pause button had been pressed, but even in lockdown, life is not long enough to steam clean the toaster. We were treading water, looking at the sky. But in May, pieces of the jigsaw fell out, bare places where people used to be. Days defined by boxes. Delivery boxes, faces in boxes on a screen, people boxed in by their doorways, clapping as the nights grow shorter. And you walk and walk and walk in the heat and think, yes, I'm glad I live here. Furtive strangers appear on the high fells. Refugees returning to their roots, to a place that seems somehow safer. Until the slogans change, the floodgates left ajar, and nowhere feels safe. June was a long month, pockmarked by worry. No pattern, no jigsaw, still the boxes. Punctured by anxious telephone calls, the parameters become treacherous, like an electric fence hidden in the long grass.
I follow the instincts of every father, and I do not mark him down.
Rules only apply to those who need rules.
It was reasonable and sensible to make a short journey before embarking on a 5-hour...
Jean leaves courgettes and gooseberry jam on the wheelie bin. Lights come back on in the travel agents. The whole world demands a refund. You feel that circulation returned to your frozen fingers. It's a relief to see the blood come back, but my God, it hurts. And in July, you look back. Lives are frail, but life is strong. 4 small months sticking up out of the hills like dinosaur bones. Today there was another funeral, another fossil trace, another footprint in the sand. The spring was another country, one you struggled to remember. In April you were glad to be here, cocooned by isolation. You walked freely. Everything you needed was within your grasp. The unseen web across your corner of the land was a safety net and not a trap.